One of my favorite biblical themes is the idea of hope. The idea that Christians can look forward in confidence, knowing that God will be with us. And the Bible uses hope in at least two different ways. There is hope in eternity, heaven and life after this that God has waiting for us, but also hope in this life. You see that a lot in the Psalms, for example, that God will be with us even here. And even if things don't work out perfectly, God will still walk with his people and give us strength to endure it. But hope isn't always easy because we know things can go wrong in life. We see people mistreat us in life. And sometimes you see that in the Bible as well. In Psalm 42, verse 5, the psalmist looks at himself and he says, "Why are you in despair, O my soul? Hope in God." It's like he's trying to remind himself to hope in God, even when things aren't perfect. I don't want to look forward in fear. I don't want to look forward in negativity. I want to look forward in hope. How do we do that? Well, one of my favorite verses about hope in the Bible is in Lamentations chapter 3. The book of Lamentations is written after Jerusalem has been destroyed. God's people, the Israelites, had stopped living for him. They'd gone so far into sin that God removed his protection from them. And the Babylonians came in, just like God said they would, in 586 BC, destroyed the city, pulled the people off to captivity. And the writer of Lamentations, who most people believe is Jeremiah, I think that, he's looking around at the city and he's saying things like, "Things used to be great here. We used to worship God here. People used to come into the city for the festivals and the times of get together, but now it's all destroyed. And those streets are empty and the city is burned, and it's all because of our sin." But in the middle of all that, all those lamentations, as where the book gets its name, in Lamentations 3, starting verse 22, one of the great passages of hope says, this is the English Standard Version, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion," says my soul. "Therefore I will hope in him." In the middle of all this, things are terrible. He's not shattered. This ray of sunshine breaks through the clouds, and he says, God's love is still there. I will hope in him. I see at least two things there that help us develop a stronger hope in our life. Number one, I see the presence of God. Isn't that what he's saying? He's saying, God is with us. The steadfast love of the Lord, it's still there. They're new every morning. The sun rises. God still cares about us. God is still with us. We can have hope because God will always be with us. The very last words of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "I will be with you always, even to the end of the age." When God asked Joshua in the Old Testament, Joshua 1 verse 9, he says, "Be strong and courageous, for I am with you wherever you go." We can go forward in hope and confidence because God will be with us. The second thing I see there is the promises of God. How could Jeremiah say so confidently, "I still have hope, even though the city's destroyed"? A lot of people had to think this was the end, that we don't have our home anymore in the promised land. But God had told Jeremiah that it wasn't the end. He had told him over and over, it's going to be 70 years, and then my people are going to return back here. I'm not done with my people. Yes, their sin is going to result in some pain, but I'm not done with my people. And so Jeremiah knew, and God would keep those promises. 70 years later, the people would return back to Jerusalem. After they settled in, a few hundred years later, Jesus Christ would come into the world, and the world would be changed forever. The story wasn't over. Jeremiah was trusting the promises of God that gave him hope. You and I can go forward in strength because we have the promises of God. Jesus says, for example, Matthew 6:33, "Seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." God will make sure we have what we need if we seek him first. We can see things like Paul in Philippians 4, verse 13. "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And even looking into eternity, Paul in places like Romans 8:18, "The sufferings of this present world are not worthy to be compared to the glory that's to be revealed in us." We have these promises that we hang on to in times of difficulty, and so we go into the future differently. The presence of God, the promises of God gave Jeremiah hope. They should give us hope as well. We're often going to face things in life that are not easy, and we never know what the future is going to bring. But Christians face the future differently. In Romans 15:13, God is called the God of hope. As you and I try to follow the God of hope, let's show the world what it means to go forward with the presence and the promises of God. If you're in the Memphis area, we'd love to have you worship with us and visit with us at the Great Oaks Church of Christ. We are trying to be Christians. We're trying to help each other be Christians. We'd love for you to be part of that. Let us know if we can help you in any way. Till we see you again, let's live for Jesus this week.